Hey, I'm AtomBombBody, and with the release of Cyberpunk 2077, at the time of this recording, which is Tuesday the 15th, I have about 57 hours in the game, and it occurred to me, I wonder if Cyberpunk could run in VR using something like VorpX, and how well will it run? You may have seen other awesome creators play Cyberpunk in VR using the same method that I'm about to show you. However, the way that they capture it is inaccurate. What you're looking on their screen is basically the desktop view. I'm going to be using the OpenVR plugin, which is going to show you what you will actually see in your headset. So what you're seeing on their screen is not actually as crisp as what you would see in the headset. Also know that Cyberpunk is pretty taxing on the computer, so if you can't already just play it with the hardware you have, adding things like VorpX and SteamVR is definitely not going to help the matter. For reference, I have a Ryzen 7 CPU, I've got a 2070 Super GPU, as well as 32 gigabytes of RAM. I'm going to be running Cyberpunk on graphics settings medium just because I'm also going to be recording in the background, and I want the performance to be as smooth as possible for the sake of this video. First and foremost, VorpX isn't free. It's currently $39.99 on their website, but you can use it to VRify more desktop games out there, and there are a lot of pre-made user profiles, but be aware, results may vary. Some games translate okay enough to VR, but some just downright suck. Also, as a heads up, I recommend using something like a gamepad or your keyboard and mouse instead of trying to use your VR controllers, because trying to bring up the VorpX settings with your VR controllers can get really confusing, and sometimes the controllers don't always translate well to the game that you're playing, because obviously it wasn't meant to be played that way. But if you can get your controllers to work well enough in it, then more power to you. Will it work for Cyberpunk? Let's find out. Thanks to fellow live partner Rage, I found out that there actually is a mod in order to get a better field of view slider from Nexus Mods, and I'll add a link to the description below. The default slider in the game, I believe, only goes from like 70 to 100, so this gives you more minimum and maximum for you to mess around with when you're in VR. All you have to do is replace the options.json file with the one that you download. Here they show where to install if you have Steam. If you're using GOG, this section is exactly the same, you just want to go to your GOG folder instead. Once you've purchased VorpX and installed it, you'll need to email the request code to support@vorpx.com so they can send you back an activation code to get the program up and running, and make sure you've purchased it legally. When all that's done, you're going to go to Configure VorpX. You should have a desktop icon for this. Then you're going to select General and make sure that you pick your headset from the list. Next, go to Local Profiles, and we're going to scroll down, or you can type in Cyberpunk 2077. We're going to click that, then Apply and Close. With VorpX running, make sure that you launch SteamVR, then we're going to launch Cyberpunk in whatever platform you purchased it on. In my case, that's going to be GOG. When you launch Cyberpunk, you'll notice a little pop-up that will say Attaching to Cyberpunk 2077 EXE. You need to see this in order to know that it actually is working. Alright, so when you first get in the game, it should automatically set the FOV to 100, but you can double check to make sure if it does that anyway. Keep in mind, we did install the mod for this, so we should have extra FOV to mess with. But before I do that, I want to go into the game itself to change the settings as much as possible before adjusting that, and as well to show you some other features. So let's go ahead and do that first. Alright, so first thing you notice in the game is how there are these... It's basically a box that's in front of you. And I think the reason I don't have full head tracking is because I'm using the Xbox controller instead, so I could use the Xbox controller to be able to look around that way. I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think the only way to get full head tracking is if you were to use the VR controllers, but like I said, getting the VorpX settings is really damn complicated, being able to do that. But anyway, we want to try to make this look as immersive as possible. Let's see what kind of settings we can use to change this. If you're using a gamepad, you're going to hit the left thumbstick, and that will bring up VorpX settings. Before we actually mess too much with the full VR mode, I want to show you guys what the other options are besides it. So there is an immersive screen mode, which basically puts a curved screen in front of you. This one actually looks pretty good, and if you move your head around, the screen doesn't move with it. There's also cinema mode, which is similar to the immersive mode, but puts you in a little apartment, so it's like you've got a giant screen TV, and you can still be able to play and do whatever you want on it. Going back to immersive screen mode, if you go to more immersive screen settings, you can always change the background. So if you don't like this ambient background, if you just want it to be pure black, you can do that as well. But going to full VR mode, this is what you're probably here for. I don't like the fact that I can still see some of the ambient background there, so I'm going to try first to switch around, mess with the aspect ratio correction. It looks like the default pixel 1:1, it was the closest. Now I'm going to mess with the image zoom to see if I can bring it closer to me. But you'll see one of the side effects of that, or it's probably going to be hard to tell in the video, is that everything looks a little too zoomed in, even with the 100 FOV. But before we go into the game settings, I also want to take a look at the 3D reconstruction settings. So there's Z normal and Z adaptive. Let's see if we can increase the strength of Z normal a bit. Doesn't seem to make, honestly, too much of a difference. You can also change the head tracking sensitivity if you feel like it's moving too slowly or too quickly. So you'll notice that it gets really hard, even with the settings that Vorpix gives you, to be able to change the scale of the HUD, to be able to actually read what my quest is currently, as well as the minimap. Well, Vorpix does have a solution for that, and it's called Edge Peek. So if you're using a gamepad, you're going to tap the right thumbstick, and it'll give you a more zoomed out version, so you can look at whatever it is you need, tap that right thumbstick again, and you're back into the game. So let's see if I can fix this kind of zoomed in effect by messing with the mod that we got from the FOV. So I'm going to go into the game settings. Actually, I'm going to use Edge Peek, so it's a little easier. So I'm going to go into settings, under graphics. So the default, in case you forget, is 80. The one that Vorpix recommends is 100. But what happens if we just totally max it out? Like, what's the max we can do? 150? Okay, let's go. Sure, why not? Okay, that's a definite improvement. Again, it might be hard to see on the video, but this looks a heck of a lot better than it did before. It's so much less zoomed out. It might look weird on the video. Everyone's still a little bit blurry, so I might have to fix that. And just for funsies, just for reference, let's see what the smallest FOV does. So I'm going to do Edge Peek, go back into settings, and let's do, what's the minimum this mod lets you do? 30? 30. Okay, let's try that. Oh god. I mean, actually, well, everyone looks less blurry, that's for sure, but holy hell, you couldn't play like this. Everything is way too zoomed in. Like, way too zoomed in. So let's put it back. This was maybe a mistake. So you may have to mess with the FOV settings that feel the best for you. I'm just going to keep it on the max for now, just for the sake of this tutorial. Let's see if we can fix some of this weird, like, fuzziness that's going on in the game. And I don't think that's just because I have it on medium. So we're going to go into the settings. There is a sharpen amount, but one of the downsides of adding too much sharpness is that you also start to get grain. So there's a fine line between making things sharp and then things starting to get a little weird, like a bad Photoshop filter. Okay, so let's try that. One still looks a little fuzzy. I wish someone would stop and look at me. Look at me. Look at me. I need testing things. You can also change the input settings. For example, if you're getting annoyed with whenever you try to sprint, if you are using a gamepad, you inevitably pull up the menu. What Vorpix recommends is that instead of tapping the left joystick to sprint, you hold it down, and that should activate it. You can change the hotkeys if you want. There's a lot of different settings you can play with. Like I said, if you find one that really works for you, let me know in the comments, and I would love to see them. Ow, just got run over by a car. Right on this guy. Alright, let's test out the depth weighing. So that one is like the minimum it'll go. What does the max do? I guess it kind of makes it more proportionate. I think it's a little useful. Alright, so 3D strength under Z normal, that seems to also somewhat affect the sharpness of the people around you. So you don't want to have that one actually, oops, that one too high. Anyway, now that we've put some settings in that we are okay with, again, I don't think this is 100%, but it's a heck of a lot better, again, using that FOV mod. Let's try attacking some people. Let's try combat and seeing what happens. So the hands are still a bit comically large in the headset, but, I mean, let's... Out of my way! I'm trying combat for YouTube videos. Wait, come back! Oops. Alright, I'm gonna try running away. If I even make it. Good Lord. I don't think I will. Oh, and here's more police who may have made a mistake. Come on. You got this. Run away! Ah. Might be okay here. Alright, I think we're good. Okay, this is with the FOV set to 135, and we'll see how this plays. This time, we're gonna try to drive a car. Alright. My car's stuck over there. Alright, we'll go to my car. I guess we're taking the Delamain cab. This was the last car I had, so okay. Alright, third person driving in the car is interesting in VR, to say the least. Let's see, let's try switching over to first. This, I feel like an ant or like a tiny child driving in this car. Driving feels strange in VR. Everything just feels way too big. People will die. You'd think that it would be more immersive doing first-person driving in VR, but even with the FOV, the ratios still feel a little off. Like this steering wheel is ginormous. Whoop! Oh no. Oh no. Oh god. Oh god. Okay. It's fine. Back to third person. We must take control. At least having a big oh my god. Oh, she's alive. It's okay. Thought I saw some bad people. There they are. Alright, let's try some more combat with this. You are not bad people. Oops. Uh-oh. I don't know the controls! Yeah, everything just looks so much better in Edge Peak mode. It looks so much sharper. I mean, luckily with the FOV increase, it doesn't feel too much like things are zoomed in, but you can definitely still see the difference. Like, this guy is a lot more blurry than he should be. And he just disappeared. Nope, never mind, he's there. He's a lot more blurry than if you were to see him like this, and he's just so much more crisp. Like, the difference is huge. But I guess it depends on your tolerance for sharpness. Like, it's not bad. It's not bad. Seeing this in VR, I don't think I would want to play it like this the whole time. But if you have like a lot of crap in your background that you don't want to look at, or you just want to try it out of curiosity, then it's definitely interesting. So my experience with this is pretty similar to other experiences I've had in the past trying to use Vorpix with regular desktop games, in that it's very mediocre. It's okay. I will say that the FOV mod does make a big difference, and it does help a lot in making it not feel so zoomed in because you're able to see more of the perspective. It might be me though. Maybe there's other settings in Vorpix that I haven't quite tweaked properly. So if you've played Cyberpunk in VR and you've got good settings that you really like, feel free to drop them in the comments below. I would love to try it out. I don't know if you can really get good at Vorpix. More like tolerant and happy with the settings that are good enough. Do I think Vorpix is worth it just to try Cyberpunk in VR? No. but I think the key is to not have high expectations for the program. It's not going to work miracles. But it does do a good job of making the game more immersive due to the black frame around it and not having your usual desktop and room clutter to look at. So it's literally just you and the game. So what do you think? Are you gonna try Cyberpunk or any other game in VR? Let me know in the comments below. Like if you liked it, sub if you loved it, and thank you guys so much for getting me to 500 subs. I still can't believe it, but I do really appreciate that. You have no idea how much it means to me, and it only makes me want to continue to make more tutorials and game review stuff and more things in the future. Also, don't forget, I stream on Twitch every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 6 p.m. Pacific. I'm now going to be adding Cyberpunk Saturdays to my Twitch schedule. It's probably not going to be in VR because it's just going to be way too taxing to stream plus Cyberpunk plus VR. As always, keep on creating and never lose that drive to improve. I'll see you on the next one.